Hello, my name is Alexandra Monti, and today I'm going to discuss my research involving the applications of YOLOv4 object detection and tracking for medical imaging and biomechanics research. YOLOv4 is an object detection model based on a single convolutional neural network. A neural network is a system of hardware and software designed to mimic how our brain visualizes and processes information. YOLOv4 specifically is based on how the neurons on the frontal lobe work to understand visual information. This research project was developed in conjunction with another research project at KurtLab, which studies the impacts of cerebral contusion, a type of traumatic brain injury. Specifically, the research focused on testing the efficacy of 4 different bicycle helmets in preventing cerebral contusion, which is common in bicycle-related accidents. As a way to test and replicate the dynamic conditions the human head experiences during a collision, a pendulum is swung at various speeds and locations at a dummy head. A high-speed camera was used to capture these impacts, and markers were placed on the helmet and the pendulum so we could detect and track the relative head-helmet motion. Our goals were to use object detection and tracking software to detect these markers and later make conclusions about head-helmet motion to model impact trauma and compare the computed stress and strain fields with the cerebral contusion-specific thresholds. To prepare for object tracking, 7 QR code-like markers were generated and placed on parts of the dummy head: chin, cheek, sagittal plane, temporal rim, frontal temporal rim, and the ear, relevant contact points for the pendulum and common points associated with bicycle injury. Camera calibration was then performed to increase the potential accuracy for a relative head-helmet motion, because our wide-angle lens could cause potential metric distortion. After filming the test on one of the dummy heads, the 30-second high-speed footage was then partitioned into around 1,500 images. In order to train a YOLOv4 model, images must be labeled with bounding boxes, indicating the location of the markers within the image and their class information. In this case, our classes were the markers, 0 through 6. In the model training, the more diverse dataset you provide, the better your training results will be. In order to do this, it is best to include a series of augmented images within your training dataset. You can augment an image in many ways, including cutting out sections, reflecting the image, blurring or distorting sections, changing saturation, etc. Doing so prepares the model to be able to recognize the object classes in different contexts, and more accurately as a result. To label our training dataset images, we used a software called Label-IMG, which allows you to place bounding boxes around the markers in the image and define class locations. The software uses those relative image coordinates and converts them into the YOLOv4 format. Ideally, you should be labeling around 1,000 images per class, because the more you label, the better your results will be. But in our case, we only labeled around 700 images total. After completing this task, you can set up the DarkNet folder. DarkNet acts as the framework for the object detection model. As a part of this process, you define the classes, divide your images into training and testing folders, and change other settings based on the number of classes you are training your model for. Lastly, you can use a virtual machine, in our case Google Colab, to train the model using our impact image dataset. YOLOv4 is an example of a one-stage detector, where training phases include the input, backbone, neck, and dense prediction. Each phase of YOLOv4 extracts relevant features and information to help make predictions about what classes it might contain. YOLOv4 splits an input image into a grid of cells, where each cell is responsible for predicting a bounding box if the center of a bounding box falls within the cell. For example, an image may be divided into a 7x7 grid, and each cell in the grid may predict 2 bounding boxes, resulting in 94 proposed bounding box predictions. The class probabilities map and the bounding boxes with confidences are then combined into a final set of bounding boxes and class labels. After a model completes training, it was initially successful in detecting the QR markers. However, after further testing by inputting different augmented images and video footage filmed at another angle where the markers were flipped or distorted, our model began having difficulty making accurate predictions, and this caused some markers to be mislabeled as others. In future research, we plan to mitigate these issues by providing a larger image training dataset, footage taken from different angles, and further augmentation. However, for our model's initial successful detections, it was able to place markers over both static images and dynamic video files. What makes YOLOv4 so unique is not only its greater precision and speed, but its ability to be run on a conventional GPU. In the recent past, only those with expensive hardware and huge computational power could train and run object detection models, but YOLOv4 allows anyone with a standard laptop to be able to do so. YOLOv4 and related deep learning algorithms have already been used to develop technology for self-driving cars, security cameras, and even MRI imaging predictions. With increased accessibility to this technology, even more researchers are beginning to explore its applications in other medical and biomechanical industries. To end my presentation, I would like to thank Dr. Mehmet Kurt for the opportunity to participate and contribute to research at KurtLab within the Stevens Institute of Technology. Additional thanks to F.A. Ozkaya for his mentorship throughout the summer and for taking the time to teach me the basics of Python and YOLOv4 model training. Thanks to Julia Zaitiko for her help working alongside me on the YOLOv4 training research and impact model training datasets, and to Andrea Menichetti and Colleen Shea for allowing me to assist with their research on cerebral contusion and other traumatic brain injuries. Lastly, a huge thank you to Rutgers University, the Douglas Residential College, and the Project Super program for making it all possible and providing me with the opportunity to gain research experience this summer. It's been an incredible value learning experience, and it's inspired me to pursue a minor in computer science. Thank you for listening.